Today we'll be discussing budgets and vision and the relationship between those very important concepts. T.S. Eliot once wrote, "Anyone could carve a goose were it not for the bones." While that sounds like a rather unusual statement, it really applies to a school's budget. Anyone can create a budget. You can simply put numbers together and fill out a form. The real question is, will that budget be an effective use of the school's resources? When you start looking at developing a school budget, you have to look beyond just the exterior. The same as when you're carving a goose, you need to look beyond the feathers and look at what's inside. When we look inside our schools, we are really looking at the school's culture. And a culture consists of the conclusions a group of people draws from an experience. An organization's culture consists largely of what people believe about what works and what doesn't. There are three key elements of school culture: values, beliefs, attitudes. When we look at a school's values, we ask, why are they in existence? What values are moving the school along each day? What are the beliefs of the members of the school community? Is there a common set of beliefs? And what are the attitudes of the parents, of students, of faculty, administration, and the larger community? In order to understand a school's culture, you have to start looking at data. And effective data changes a school's culture. Data exposes bias and ignorance, and they provide that aha moment as well as debunking ineffective practices. We ask questions such as what, why, how, when, where, who. The data that we collect will help us create a budget that is effective and responsive to the needs of the students as well as the faculty. Now, there are certain barriers to the use of data. Sometimes there's a lack of proper training. People who are collecting the data don't understand what they're really trying to do. There's also a fear of evaluation. People are afraid that the data will say something negative. Instead of using that as a positive, people fear what the data will tell them. Sometimes data is not collected because people say there's not enough time. There's a fear of exposing the failures or the limitations of the school. There is that feast or famine mentality that we either have too little data or too much data. And sometimes confusing a technical problem with a cultural problem. Those 6 barriers must be considered when you're looking at the data. There are certain steps to overcoming those barriers. The first is building a leadership and data team. The head of the institution needs to create a sense of ownership and also assign responsibilities to those within the organizations. Sometimes it's important to have outside people involved in the data collection as well. You must also create a vision and a plan for the school. People need to be able to see where you want to take the institution. You also have to deal with killing the myth and the building dissatisfaction that often comes when you're trying to collect data because of the fears that people have. You also have to monitor the progress. You need to monitor how the data is being collected. You also need to create a culture of inquiry as opposed to creating a culture of inquisition. Now, there are several types of data: disaggregated, longitudinal, perception, qualitative, and quantitative. You need to decide which of those you need to collect in order to create a picture of the culture of your school and then eventually build a budget that reflects the goals of the school, the mission of the school, and the culture. Sorensen and Goldsmith talk about the integrated budget model. And they say it is incumbent on leaders to provide stakeholders with opportunities to envision, understand, and experience the school's vision as they develop the school's action plan using this model. That means you must have a shared leadership approach. They also talk about data originating from a wide array of sources, not just looking at parent data, not just looking at faculty data, not just looking at student data, looking at a wide array of sources. As data are gathered in an ongoing process, a school profile emerges. You get a much better sense of what the school is all about and why it exists. And when you do that, you have a much better chance of building a budget that is reflective of the school's mission, the vision, and the culture of the school. As always, if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to let me know.